What is up, everybody? I have one of the most famous people from crypto Twitter here on the podcast, the one and only Zeneca. Zeneca, what's going on, man?
No, not too much. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
First question: where's all my money gone?
Wherever mine has gone as well. Yeah, this market is it's not fun, huh?
How do you generally deal with the? Yeah, how do you experience market volatility?
I mean, at this point, it's sort of just I guess almost like water off my back, where I'm so used to it. I mean, I was a poker player before, so I knew variance, but then I've been in crypto now for God, coming up on a decade. 2017 is when I sort of first got in, so you just kind of get used to it. But I think I guess the real answer is that over time, the percentage of like my net wealth, I was going to say net worth, but I remember you posted a nice tweet the other day about net wealth. My net wealth has gone down in terms of the percentage that's in crypto. So that helps a bit as well.
Okay, so you've kind of were you all in at first?
Not at first, but like there was a point in like maybe mid to late 2021, even going into like early 2022, where because I put a bunch into NFTs and NFTs went absolutely ballistic. Like close to 99% of my net wealth was in crypto. And then I've basically been working to get that number down over time. The market has helped a lot in getting that number down, but
Yeah.
yeah, it has come down since then a lot.
So so did you started as a poker player, and is that where you built like an initial bag, and then from there you moved into crypto, or how did kind of like the progress of your trajectory as someone like who succeeded in this game go?
Yeah, that's kind of it. But I wouldn't say that I sort of made any sort of significant bag in poker. So I did poker for 15 years, basically 2005, 2006 till 2021 is when I was like still playing poker. I stopped in early 21. And I made enough to sort of like get by. I had some good periods there, but towards the end, I was not, I would say, thriving or mega successful or anything like that. I like my total I maybe had like 100 grand to my name going into 2021, or maybe 150 or something like that, but nothing like mega successful. I was early 30s and probably underperforming a lot of people that I went to school with and stuff like that. And but then yeah, I put maybe 50 to 100k of that. I'm talking Aussie dollars now, Australian dollars, like into crypto, and yeah, it just obviously worked out very well from there.
What were the like? What were the big wins? What were
Probably the
the game
biggest
changers?
win. Yeah, it would have been Bored Apes minting, not minting, buying three of those for under an ETH, and then art blocks just being heavy. I mean, it was all NFTs in the early days, and sort of being heavy in ETH back then. I've always been a big fan of ETH, still am, even if it's not popular these days or it's underperformed so much. But yeah, being into ETH and NFTs in 21 and 22 is obviously worked out well.
And that was kind of catching it in the right moment of COVID when there was blood in the streets.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of that as well.
And how do you think about the current market? Yeah, what do you think about where we're at right now?
Yeah, it's tough, and I say brutal is probably the right word, because it is. I mean, compared to everything else, gold is ripping, commodities, stocks, everything is basically just going crazy, and crypto is not. And it's sort of everything was lining up for it to go crazy. Like I think that people were expecting, they're saying, oh, when X, Y, and Z happens, when interest rates lower, and when Trump becomes president and when regulation comes in, oh, crypto is going to finally go ballistic. And we saw a glimpse of that maybe early 2025. Late 2024, early 2025, and then it's just we've underperformed everything else, and so I think it's a brutal market, and it's a tough market in the sense that even when things were going well, it was never really this rising tide lifts all ships kind of market that we'd seen in previous cycles, where you could just sort of like just put a blindfold on and throw a dart at a dartboard, and you'd probably catch something that would rip. You really had to be selective. You had to be jumping from one meta to the other, or you just had to basically be in Bitcoin, which most people that are very active in the space are not just all in on Bitcoin. And obviously, even Bitcoin is now underperforming. So yeah, just a real market.
So with AceTrader100, this is a tournament of AceTrader100 is a misnomer. I think there are 102 participants. A couple fell through the cracks, but you have not traded yet. So you are flat last I checked, and you got 6 days. It seems like in this world right now, up 50%, doubling your money in a world where you have a lot of leverage, put you in a decent spot. Top eight, move on. So you just got to get top eight. How do you think you are going to approach this? What kind of strategies do you want to put on?
Yeah, I think I'm not. I've never been like a day trader in terms of like fungible tokens and things like that. Leverage trading has never been my expertise. And in this kind of market, I think that especially if you're trying to win a competition like this, you can just kind of wait a little bit towards like the later stages of a competition, because a lot of people just wipe themselves out, and then you have more. It's kind of like in poker, you want to be in position in terms of like you want other people to make their moves first, and then you have more information and you can make your decisions. It's kind of worked out well because I was traveling and on vacation for a little bit, and so I've just gotten home now, and yeah, I think I'll be taking a bit more of that passive approach, and then in the last 2-3 days, maybe seeing how other people are doing, and then maybe making a couple of larger bets on what I think is going to happen and hoping for the best.
So you've gone from poker to NFTs to what would you say you are now? Because NFTs, in my experience, like I kind of had my kind of move into the space through NFTs, but you can't really be a full time NFT guy at this point. I mean, you can. They're like,
It's really tough.
I mean, much love to like the Roger Dickermans of the world and Snowfro and the guys who are really
Yeah.
putting their heart and soul into NFTs when no one else is coming in. But yeah, what have you kind of transitioned into being in the space?
I would say if I had to describe myself these days, I say content creator, which is kind of what I was even in the NFT days, but like I was doing a lot more trading and stuff then. And then I moved to sort of trading like AI agent tokens and some meme coins and sort of more of that sort of side of things. But I do a lot less sort of trading these days in general. And but I'm still very much passionate about like creating content, writing, educating. And so I focus a lot on that. And the topics are very wide ranging. So it's everything from is a new ERC protocol coming out on Ethereum. I'll write about that. A new like Mega ETH layer 2 coming up. Like the Clarity Act and other regulations that are coming out in America. Just wide ranging topics, and sort of focusing a bit more on content. Yeah, that's kind of it. And then I advise a couple of projects, and I do like some trading and investing, but it's much slower paced now than it used to
Mm.
be, and it's very much more focused on like the non NFT side of crypto, because NFTs are so just muted and subdued these days. It's hard to sort of actively trade them, I think.
Yeah. No, it's been a rough ride. In that, what do you think are the keys to building an audience in terms of, or in your kind of core principles when it comes to how you want to exist on social media?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is just providing value, and whatever way you can figure out to do that is critical. Like that's it. Like people will follow you, and you will build an audience if they think that they're getting something from you, whether it's education or it's alpha or it's entertainment because you're funny or it's whatever it is. Providing some sort of value is key number one. And then I think things like showing up consistently and regularly, being genuine, people really value that. And I think being authentic, and especially in this age of like so much AI, and people can kind of like see through that. And then also people's like bullshit detectors are pretty getting better, I think, in crypto, which is a good thing. There's still a lot of like LARPs out there and people like that, but just being a genuine human and providing value is it's like it's not rocket science. It's like so many things in life. Like everyone knows to have be healthy, you eat well, you exercise, you sleep well. It's like it's simple, but it's not necessarily easy to execute on. Same with I think building an audience. It's like figure out how to provide value, be a genuine person, do it regularly and consistently, and you'll probably over time build that audience.
What were the moments that you had like kind of like parabolic shifts? Like I remember when NFTs were hot, like I could post charts about NFT performance, and that you could get like 10,000 followers in a couple weeks if back in the day, if I was having like charts that went viral and that was what people
Yeah.
wanted to know about. But what were your moments there?
Yeah, I mean, there was really just one thing that I did that really drew my entire audience, I would think, which was in mid 2021, I started posting these spreadsheets. So, back to charts and stats of the floor price of various NFT collections, because this was at a time when uh, OpenSea, no marketplace had like a floor price tracker. You could go into a collection and they didn't like by default filter from lowest to highest, and they didn't have the floor price of a collection listed anywhere. And so I just started tracking that in like a Google sheet for my own trading and my own knowledge. I was like, there are only like 10 really relevant NFT collections in the early days anyway. And it was very easy to do. And then one day I tweeted it out and people just started, they went crazy for it. They're like, oh, wow, this is valuable. It's good information. I wanted to know that. So I started updating that every single day and tweeting that out with like some market update thoughts. And yeah, it was just like thousands and thousands of followers a day sometimes, because there were just so many people flooding to NFTs. And there weren't that many people creating any sort of content around it. And yeah, that was probably the biggest thing by far for me. And I did that daily for probably six-ish months. And yeah, that really grew a lot of my audience.
And now that I think about it, we both had that start. I think I was like a year later of just publishing floor prices and other stuff that like, yeah, I think like Dune and a lot of the dashboards, it took them a while to figure out floor price. Like they were very, because it's not on chain. I mean, it's hard to back into on chain. So, everyone could talk about average transaction price because that's not hard to pull from off chain or from the blockchain, but floor price was a little bit harder, and it kind of
you had all these great charts and things that you like spot trends over time, and yeah, it was always really really interesting content
back in the good old days.
Nowadays.
What? So back to the AceTrader 100. Who are traders? You have your whole community that you've built, and I imagine you've learned to spot people who actually are pretty good at providing alpha, who maybe are a little bit less known or who are well known. Who do you think are the traders who are actually pretty good at this game? Like, who are people who you think could win this tournament? Stuff like that.
Yeah, it's always so tough because a lot of the time it's just some random person you actually haven't even heard of who comes out of the woodwork, and is just like, it's always those people that are actually the best traders. It's it's rarely the people that have hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter that are the best. They're usually the ones that are good at creating content and making people believe they're the best. But there are always exceptions. I think people like OSF and Mando, I've always had a lot of respect for. They obviously come from that traditional investing background, and they really adapted well to crypto. So like someone like Mando is someone I think that would be tough to like just take on heads on and beat in a trading competition per se without sort of. I mean, you got to get lucky no matter what, but like yeah, that's someone that I would say is someone to watch.
Yeah, he's like you. He has not put a trade on yet, but I did go on a podcast with him this morning, so I'm curious to see what he ultimately comes out with. Do you think you have going into like the next week, because this tournament goes 1 week, and then after that we have knockout rounds, so it's gonna be like head to head trading, starting with 8 people all the way down to a champion. Do you have do you have any kind of bullish, bearish, directional bias right now? Any assets that you think like are the things you want to be buying or going long, I should say? What's your general view right now?
Yeah, I would say I'm generally feeling a little bearish and dejected. I was feeling like locally bullish hours ago before this. Like I just checked. I mean, it's like 4 a.m. here in Australia, so I was asleep earlier. But when I woke up, I was like, oh wow, I didn't really expect such a big. I don't know. We're down like 5% pretty quickly, but yeah, I'm. It's hard to be too excited or bullish in the short term. I don't really see any big catalysts coming up that are gonna you know just turn sentiment and shift things quickly. But within the market, I think like I've been bullish on the AI sector for years, ever since AI sort of like the Chat GPT moment. I sort of pictured this convergence of AI and crypto coming together and exploding and really just taking over. And more recently, I've been looking into the robotics sector as well. And I think that there is going to be a point where they sort of start to take over and outperform. Obviously, it's tough in this crypto macro bear market. So if Bitcoin's crashing, it is tough to get other things to like outperform and do really, really well. But yeah, so I'm probably going to be, and who knows, a few days from now, so much can happen in crypto, but I'm feeling a little bearish right now. And so like, I might look to short some, if we get like a big bounce or something, I might look to short that. And yeah, things like that.
Bigger targets like that. Yeah. No, when it comes to AI, how do you think that overlaps with crypto? It's kind of one of those things that I feel like has been very square peg round hold until now, where someone will create a chatbot and be like, oh, here's a coin you can buy that has absolutely nothing to do with the chatbot, but buy it and it'll have the same name. Or other things like that. Maybe, Virtuals, which is a platform for people to trade coins that are named after chatbots but have nothing to do with them. But like, at the end of the day, how do you think that the overlap is natural, or do you think it's more the way that people like to turn, like any narrative can be made money off of, because people will be like, oh yeah, AI plus crypto, let me invest, and end up losing their money. But where am I being too cynical here?
I don't think you're being too cynical necessarily. I think it's a lot like the rest of crypto in a way where there is there are so many valuable use cases that are just genuinely good use cases of the technology of blockchains. And it's sort of like blockchains allow you to do things that are not possible without blockchains and that are improvements over the status quo, like DeFi, for instance. There are so many wonderful DeFi use cases that just bring real value to the world. But as DeFi is being developed and building, and like it takes time for these people, for like people to build products that are actually valuable and the technology to catch up. Alongside it, there's going to be like a million people and scammers and just people putting out low effort garbage projects. And because crypto is full of tons and tons of gambling degenerates, people will pump those to crazy prices, and that will just naturally happen in crypto. And I think that AI within crypto is following a similar trajectory where the vast majority of stuff, just like the vast majority of stuff in crypto, is this, just garbage stuff being pumped out and pumped to crazy prices in some instances, while the real sort of projects are taking time to be built and the technology is catching up. Because I think that AI kind of needs crypto in certain ways where, like for instance, it's getting tougher and tougher to be able to discern what is quote unquote real human created stuff versus what is AI generated. And I think that blockchains provide provenance and sort of a unique way to solve that problem. And I think that there will be some sort of crossover there. AI agents is another area where people are going crazy lately with Claude code and buying Mac Minis and running their own little personal assistants that are like AI based. And for them to sort of transact, like you don't necessarily want to give an agent full access to your bank account or go to a bank and set up a whole new account, but you could send $100 into an Ethereum wallet and give it access to that and see what happens. And I think that on-chain payments and things like there's like the X402 protocol, and there's just all sorts of interesting stuff happening that I think make a lot of sense. But alongside all of that, there's just so many low effort or even high effort projects, but just have very little actual value that will get a lot of the attention, and people will pump money into it because of the narrative and hype it up and things like that. So yeah, it's I think it's an interesting space, but long term, I think there are genuinely good use cases that will come out of AI and crypto.
Sweet. Last thing I want to ask you about is I feel like on your timeline you've talked about mental health a fair bit. What's kind of like the journey that you've had as far as being public about kind of like wanting to talk about mental health, and what has that meant to you? What's kind of driven that trend for your timeline?
Yeah, I've dealt with like mental health issues pretty much my whole like conscious life. I think since I was a young teenager, I had depression and anxiety and all sorts of issues. I'm an alcoholic. I'm like sober 6 years now, but like I dealt with alcoholism and stuff basically since the early to teenager when I started drinking up until my early 30s. And it took me it took me like 20 years to sort of overcome, in a sense, my problems and figure out how to deal with and live with it and get to a point where I could genuinely say I'm happy and confident and like I feel good about life. And getting into I guess the public sphere where I started creating content, going back to sort of providing value but also being genuine and human. Um, those early days of sort of trading NFTs and being in that space, I would have a lot of like bad days and times where I couldn't sleep or I felt depressed or I felt anxious because bags were going down or the market was crashing or something or other was happening. And it just felt natural to me back then to sort of talk about it publicly. Um, for whatever reason, it felt better to me. It felt better to know that other people were going through similar things. And I think it helped other people that were going through those similar things to see someone else writing about it. And so, after a few times of writing about my mental health experiences and how I was feeling at the time and getting positive feedback, it just became a thing that I felt a lot more comfortable to naturally keep doing as time went on. And yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think more people talking about mental health struggles and especially if they have been able to overcome them, as I fortunately have been, can help other people that are maybe a little bit further back in their journey. Yeah.
What do you think create turning points for people when you're descending into alcoholism or depression, and then something happens where the trajectory goes upwards? What do you think can cause those turning points?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think the classic is like people say, "Oh, I hit rock bottom," and then turned around, and it's almost like, in many instances, it's sort of a either your life kind of ends because the alcohol you succumb to alcoholism one way or another, or whatever it is that is ailing you, or you figure out how to turn it around. But I guess there are other sort of moments in like you know like almost flagship moments in your life where some big event happens and you sort of think about you sort of take it as a reason to sort of like uh, reevaluate your life and make some giant change. I mean, it could be. I don't have kids yet, but like it could be when you have a child. A lot of people say that, oh, that changed everything. It could be when you meet a certain person or get married, or again, like rock bottom is like a negative version of that, or a suicide attempt for some people could be one of those turning points. And yeah, or if someone is like hospitalized for whatever reason, that can be a turning point. It's sort of like a big event. It's not the day to day humdrum of life where it usually doesn't change. Just like I think that was a really good question, because normally people that are going through this, it's hard to just pull yourself out of it without some big event pulling like being the catalyst.
Yeah. Are there signs when you're on X where you're just like, oh, I can tell that person's struggling from things I'm familiar with? There kind of like ways when you're online where you can kind of identify what like could be a red flag, or I almost feel like red flag's the wrong word, but like
Yeah, no,
a smoke
I know
signal,
what you mean.
smoke signal. Yeah.
Yeah, there are. I think you can sort of the way that people are talking, especially if you know the person a little bit, either you're friends with them or you've just been following them for a while, like their voice changes, the way that they speak about things changes. I've actually had people reach out to me when I've been going through sort of a bad time and say, "Hey, I noticed that the kind of way that you're speaking or the topics you're talking about lately, it's not how you normally speak, or you feel a little more pessimistic or dejected or depressed or whatever." And these are just people that I have never interacted with before, but they can tell because they're actually right. And yeah, it's something that you can definitely sense. I think just being humans that sort of relate to the emotions that other humans are going through, and especially if you've been through them before. Yeah, there's definitely this shared sense of it, I think.
Very cool. Yeah, makes a lot of sense, and it's nice that people, even if you're not in a good spot, are reaching out to you, and then yeah, obviously it's easy, not easy, but it's nice to pay that forward towards people when we sense that in others. Thank you very much for coming on. Thanks for dealing with heavy topics, with lighter topics, with the whole 9 yards. I'm wishing you luck on the AceTrader 100. I'm excited to see how it goes. Do you think you'll be trading like Bitcoin, or do you think you'll be kind of going down the
I think I'll
stack
be going
when it comes
down
to?
the rabbit hole. I've always been a little like, I like Bitcoin. I hold Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is king as well. But when it comes to trading, especially if you want to like win a competition, I think you want to find edges in some of the smaller areas, and yeah, like maybe hype, and maybe some smaller tokens. I've got my eye on.
The good thing with Bitcoin is you can do 40x leverage. So it's kind of based. I think it's based on hype's leverage levers for all the different coins. So you can get more leverage, I think, on Bitcoin than others, but it's still the other ones are much more whippy, and yeah,
Yeah.
probably easier to get edge than $1 trillion asset. But
Yeah, probably a mix. There'll probably be some Bitcoin in there, but then some other assets as well.
fair enough. Well, thank you for getting up at 4 a.m. to talk to us. Thank you for being part of AceTrader 100. Hope you'll try the product as well. I think I'll actually tell you very briefly about the product. I know you have to go, but the product, the basic idea is that people can spend $99 or $149, and you get a trading portfolio when you spend that. And if you trade well over 5 days, then Memeland will give you $1,000, $10,000, or $20,000 of our own balance sheet for you to trade. And the idea, I think the reason we like this product is, one, it gives Memeland a chance to find good traders who can trade for us, because that's something we've always wanted. Two, it allows people to trade, to develop skills trading, leverage trading without putting their family's money on the line. I mean, yes, you have to pay for the ticket, but it's limited loss way to be out there trading. And at the same time, you have upside. So you can,
I think it's brilliant.
I think that paper portfolios, just people don't do it because there's just not enough dopamine. But here you get the dopamine hits, but if you bust, your family can still go out to eat, every now and then, and you're not giving up everything. And I think that's kind of the idea, is give people that education in trading, learn about themselves, have enough incentive to come back for more, but kind of keep that loss limited. So that's the basic AceTrader product, and AceTrader 100 is the launch of the product.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome because so many people, it's hard to learn the lesson that, leverage trading can burn you real bad and how dangerous it is unless you actually do it. And unfortunately, a lot of people, when they first get into it, especially if they find some success early on, they put a bit more money in, and then it can be so catastrophic. And so having that cap downside and the ability to sort of see what would really happen with sort of a quote unquote paper portfolio, but one that has actual upside is, yeah, it's a really good idea. It reminds me of yeah, like in poker, sometimes people would like stake other people in terms of like they give them a bankroll and take the risk away from them and allow them to play, and then take some of the profits if they do well. Yeah, it's a really really good model, I think.
Cool. Thank you. And yeah, hopefully we'll talk again soon. Appreciate you coming on.
Awesome, thanks for having me.
Take care.